And welcome back to the Brickazoids Den. It is Saturday, so you know that means it is Owl House time. I am excited to talk about this one because it's Owl House, but I gotta be honest with you, I wasn't too crazy about this episode. It just feels a little bit different from the entire rest of the season, where we basically didn't. There wasn't that like too much that really happened in this episode. I mean, there's a few things that could maybe be important for later episodes or later parts of the season, or even season. Well, actually, probably not even season 3, um, but I don't know. I just something about this episode just didn't hit right, and I wasn't too crazy about it. I mean, it's great to have a story about Hunter the Golden Guard, but it just wasn't a very interesting story in my opinion. As well as the side plot, also I wasn't too crazy about either. But um, maybe it's just because we like the last 2 weeks we had very important episodes, very story heavy. You know, with the first episode of season 2B being about Rain Whispers and how they are doing in the Emperor's Coven, as well as trying to get them back and everything like that. While episode 11 also gave, or episode 12, whatever, gave us, or last week's episode, I should say, gave us so much incredible information on Philip Wittebeen slash Bellows. So maybe that's why they decided to go with this episode next, was because this was just kind of a little bit less of a heavy story slash plot episode. This was more of like kind of like a side story almost. And that's why they decided to go with this, because we had such a crazy episode reveal last week. So yeah, again, not too crazy about this one, but I'm still excited to get into it and talk about it a little bit. There is one little thing at the end of the video that I do want to kind of, or that's in this description here, that I do want to return back to, because I do want to talk about it a little bit more. But yes, we are going to get into this little breakdown here. We are going to start off with the opening of this episode, which I believe is where the most important stuff really comes in here. So basically, we are at the Emperor's Coven castle, Bellows' castle, and Hunter is fixing up his cape with his Cardinal Talisman, of course, who plays is a part of this episode. You know, Hunter's the main character here. Hunter is instructed to lead the Coven heads for the day, because Bellows' plan has caused him to take a leave and go and most likely look for something. We don't know what it is though. Perhaps he's meeting with the Collector or something like that. That would be pretty cool. But they don't really respect him, don't really listen to him. And the Coven heads, they're not really, like, he's supposed to lead them. They're not really following. They just end up leaving, and they just call it a day, deciding to reschedule. And Darius, the Abomination Coven head, says Hunter's dad seems to be a Golden Guard and had a sigil that was respected. So, again, I would have to go back through and reanalyze this conversation here, but if I'm not mistaken, it did say something about Golden Guard's father or some sort of ancestor to the Golden Guard that had his own sigil, because he was making, basically at the beginning of the episode, Hunter was knitting a sigil onto a cape, because his original cloak and things like that were destroyed in episode 6, I think, when they went to Latissa. But he was knitting this sigil on, and it wasn't his sigil. It was the Golden Guard before him's sigil, which was interesting to see. And again, I believe it was the Golden Guard's, or Hunter's, father, which was very interesting. And again, I do want to talk about that a little later in this video, a little down the line here. And then, as well as, all that happening, I also noticed the intro was sped up a little bit, which was interesting. I don't know if they just had to do that to account for the runtime of this episode, or what, because that was very interesting. So I haven't noticed that with any of the other season 2B episodes, so I guess I don't know if it already was sped up before. But yeah, very interesting little thing I noticed. So yes, we'll move on to the B plot here. Alright, so the B plot of this episode here is basically Amity and Luz have finally started an Azora book club, which is really cool at Hexside. No one wants to really join, but Amity comes in saying that there's an author signing in the Boiling Isles, but the books, but then the question comes up, the books are from the Boiling Isles and the human realm. So, can the author of the books, Mildred Featherwolf or something, I believe that was her name, could she travel between realms? And that was the big kind of like question of this episode for this plot here. So we kind of obviously we jump back and forth between the A plot and the B plot, but again, I'm just gonna run through and do the entirety of the B plot here. So I'm not when I'm reading the description, I'm not going back and forth all the time. So basically, later on in the episode, Amity and Luz are walking through, I believe it was Bonesboro, coming up with different theories and things like that for who the author actually is after learning about the author signing for Azora. And then they actually see Mildred Featherwolf. I believe that was her name. I may be saying that wrong, just like I do with Dale Clawthorne. But they see Mildred while sitting outside of the book signing place after it was canceled, which was a shame. And we see the author of Azora running away while the two of them are sitting outside, and Luz and Amity run after the author, only for it to be revealed that Bartholomew, Tibbles, and Tiny Nose, which also had a name. Tiny Nose also had a name too, like Tilda. I don't know. That's as far as I couldn't remember the rest, but are actually selling the Azora books as a scam on the Boiling Isles after they fell into the human realm, or after they fell into the Boiling Isles from the human realm. So meaning the author is just human and not from the Boiling Isles. So Amity and Luz would want to make an Azora book club, a writing club as well, and that was really about it. I mean, they nothing too crazy happened with this plot here. I mean, maybe it would be a little bit more interesting if the author actually was from both the Boiling Isles and the human realm, and maybe you could get some information from there. But I guess the writers decided to go with just having Bartholomew, Tibbles, and Tiny Nose, which is fine. It was a fine B plot, I guess. But yeah, it was interesting at the end. Amity and Luz wanted to turn the Azora book club into a writing club as well. So I don't know exactly what they would do there, if that would ever continue in another episode of the Owl House, but we'll have to see. And then there's like this little ending part here that I actually should probably go through plot A first, and then I can read that out. So we'll go with plot A now. Alrighty, so for plot A, we start off with Willow, seeing a little bit of, I would say, a montage of Willow working out. And Willow has a new look, saves Gus and Luz from a living locker. And Willow wants to start a flyer derby team, which is a sport in the Boiling Isles, where it's kind of like Quidditch a little bit, where you're like flying and you have to get like flags onto this pole thing here from the opposite team, which is interesting. So Hunter goes undercover to try and recruit some Hexside students to join the Emperor's Coven, just like Darius had said. But even, just like the Emperor's Coven, when people don't really respect... Or, wait, hold on. I gotta word this right. I think I started this out wrong. Hold on. Hunter quickly learns that people aren't really, like, focused on joining the Emperor's Coven like he feels they should be. So he's, like, very confused when he asks, I think, Gerbo, do you want to join the Emperor's Coven or something like that? He's like, nah, I'm good. And he's very confused because he feels like everybody should join the Emperor's Coven because it's such a momentous thing, I guess. So then Mr. Homunculus, the Abomination teacher, is trying to take Willow's idea down of creating a flyer derby team, because he was the Abomination teacher and Willow dropped that class. So he has a little bit of a grudge against Willow here. And Willow is challenged by Homunculus to a flyer derby match because he used to play, with I believe Principal Bump, who was in the photo as well that Mr. Homunculus showed. So Willow sees Hunter trying to escape Viney's beast after upsetting it, and wants him to join the team, not knowing who he is and things like that, because she sees him flying away and sees that he might be pretty impressive at flying. So Hunter, on the other hand, is more focused on getting Emperor's Coven recruits than actually joining the team here. Hunter and Willow were both considered half a witch, which was interesting as well, that they kind of talked about in the episode, and that provokes Willow to show Hunter what her little team that they were able to make up really can do. So Willow shows that her team is super strong, convince Hunter to join the team again. Willow's team play a match of flyer derby against Mr. Homunculus' team, and Willow's team wins. They take a team photo. Hunter reveals himself to the team, and the Emperor's guards show up to take the recruits, which is Willow, Gus, Skara, and Viney, to it wasn't the Conformatorium. It was just a jail spot, a little outpost, it seemed, and that's where they took the recruits to be captured. So Hunter captures the team, of course, in the Emperor's Coven, and then Willow is starting to lose her confidence a little bit again. Darius takes the recruits, and then actually, this is actually another interesting point. Actually, that I do want to mention more. Probably talk about a little bit more at the end of the video when it comes to like theory time. There was a moment where Steve was a part of this episode. Of course, our classic Emperor's Coven guard, Steve. He comes out and talks to Hunter, saying that he kind of regrets his decision of joining the Emperor's Coven because of how harsh it really is and how harsh the training for it is and things like that. So that was also interesting. Again, I'm going to talk about that a little later in the video when we get to theory kind of talking. And Hunter also says, yeah, maybe I'm kind of starting to regret my decision as well. So that's interesting, and I do again want to come back to that. So Hunter goes on this journey to get them back, and distracts Darius while the team escapes. Hunter lets Willow's team go and gives up his dad's sigil. Although, as the team escapes, Darius becomes impressed with Hunter and wanted him to make new friends. Gets him a Pentagram account. So yeah, Hunter's getting hooked up so he can have some friends now, which is cool. And then at the end of the episode here, this is what I was talking about before. Luz and Amity and then Willow's team come together, and because they see each other walking outside, and Luz and Amity see Hunter in the photo and are freaked out because of course that's the Golden Guard who they fought. So yeah, that was the plot A there, and now we'll kind of get into theories slash kind of overall thoughts on the episode kind of deal. So again, I feel like there wasn't too much going on in this episode. It felt pretty simple, which isn't the worst thing at all. It was just kind of, I guess it just kind of threw me off because of how story heavy this season has been, and this episode kind of felt like a little bit of a side story, which is fine. I mean, I think it was for like Hunter's character development, so I guess I can respect that. I thought the plot B I wasn't too crazy about with the whole author of the books or the Azora books. Just ended up being Tibbles, Bartholomew, and Tiny Nose, so didn't end up being anything interesting. I mean, it was cool to see Tibbles again, just because we haven't seen him since season 1. Although, I'm not crazy about his character either. So, yeah, plot B was whatever. The opening was probably, I would say, the best part of the episode, because it's just great to see some stuff in the Emperor's Coven. And then also some of that plot A stuff, when it came to Hunter talking with Emperor's Coven people, was very interesting. And again, I do want to talk about that, where we have people leaving the Coven, as in Emperor's guards and things like that, and people like that, feeling maybe or regretting their decision to join the Emperor's Coven. That is a very interesting idea that I kind of hope they continue in this season. As the Day of Unity gets closer, maybe Bellows starts to notice some of his guards turning on him. That would be super, or leaving. Maybe not turning on him, because I think they'd be way too scared to do that. Maybe just leaving the Emperor's Coven and going to just live other lives, because the Emperor's Coven throughout the show has been put up as like this amazing place, this incredible place to learn magic and things like that. But I mean, it's been shown that way to the public, but also, we also see how Luz and Ida fare against the Emperor's Coven. So I guess we've kind of seen both sides of the story here, and I would say most fans of the actual show are against the Emperor's Coven, but it's interesting to see people who were so devoted to it, being guards of it, being a part of it, kind of being like, yeah, no, we went through like harsh training. We were put up on a mountain and left there. We had to do so many duels and things like that. We got hurt. Bellows is kind of a scary guy, so they're just kind of done, and that's a really interesting idea. That again, I do hope they kind of continue throughout the season. Maybe I think we're gonna get a Hunter redemption arc where Hunter kind of turns to the good side in this case. So I do think we're gonna see that. That seems pretty clear at this point. But it would be also again interesting to see other Emperor Coven guards maybe doing that as well. Maybe Steve is going to be the one to leave first, and then that starts a whole revolt against Bellows. So that would be interesting. And then also no new recruits as well. Darius mentions that like he already has enough recruits. They're fine, but we also saw the people at Hexside not really interested in joining, which was interesting to see. So another thing I want to talk about in this little section of the video here is Hunter's dad, or Hunter's ancestor, or whoever that this character that they mentioned was, a previous Golden Guard. That is super interesting. I didn't even think about that there was already a Golden Guard before Hunter. That is such a crazy idea. And if it is Hunter's real dad, then that kind of destroys the Del Clawthorne theory of Del being Hunter's dad, but could still, Philip and Del could still be brothers. It just he's not Hunter's father, which is interesting. So, yeah, I mean, there wasn't too much on the Hunter's dad thing. It was just very interesting to see that, like, he had his own sigil. He was the previous Golden Guard to Emperor Bellows. He was respected. Hunter was not. That's very interesting. So, yeah, I mean, it sounds like Hunter actually had a real family, just judging by this the conversations that we've had before in the Emperor's Coven with with Hunter calling Bellows uncle, and then also Darius, the Abomination Coven head, saying that Hunter's father had his own sigil. He was respected. He would be able to lead the group like Hunter can't. So yeah, just want to talk about these two little things at the end here, and we'll wrap this up here. Alrighty, so that was pretty much it for this video. Just wanted to talk about Owl House. Of course, we have Amphibia up next. I'm going to get to work on that one right now. So, yeah, if you enjoyed that video, do the common YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.